Hi everybody, today we're working on a 2008 Buick Lucerne. Customer brought it in. The radiator was leaking on it. See it right there, it's cracked. I pressure tested it and I found that it also had another leak, and it was right there where that 90-degree elbow is. You can see it or not. Let's see if I can just point it out to you. That right there is leaking. So we're going to take this bracket off, an alternator, and replace that. Got to remove this here and this support across the front, and then once I do that, I'll come back and show you what else you got to do. Okay, so now I've got that bracket that's right there. I removed that and I've loosened this up. You're going to ask yourself, well, how in the world do I get that out? Well, that has to come out with the radiator. You can pull it all out at one time. You need to loosen up the connections here for the AC condenser. So you're going to need to discharge your air conditioning system and recharge it. There's no way around it. You can't just try to get everything out without disconnecting that. So that's what I'm about to do. Okay, so I have my condenser lines disconnected. Went ahead and removed the overflow line. I'm going to show you on that bottom line, the high side, where it goes into the condenser. It's threaded. You can probably see that down there at the bottom. And you have to remove that in order to get the radiator out, because the radiator just lifts straight up off of that support right there. So just disconnect your line from here, and then that bracket down there, I'd loosen that up, and you'll have enough room to flex that line and pull it back so you can get that out. Next, I'm going to remove the transmission cooler lines and this little plastic cover right here. You have to pull that back, and then you'll see these little clips right here. I'm pointing at it. You got to pull those out, and I just use a pick and pop them out. New radiator comes with them, but I always try to save one. You never know, those things are easy to lose. The new radiator, you can see where those lines clip in, and those are the clips right there. You can see how the bracket is on the radiator, how you have to lift it straight up. Now this radiator does not have a drain port on it, and neither does the old one, so you just have to disconnect the hoses and it'll drain out that way. A little bit more messy, but it's all you can do. Alright, so this is that threaded line I was talking about on the condenser line. I removed these lines here, the transmission lines. These are the ones I was telling you about that had the little clips. I disconnected those, disconnected the radiator hoses, and the fan shroud here has got two bolts, one on that side and one on that side over there, and then it just slips down inside of the radiator. There's a bracket on it, which is right here. It slips down in there. You want to take these off. The new radiator doesn't have those, so you take those off of there, take your condenser off, put your condenser on the new radiator, and put your rubber grommets on there. I suggest if you're going to replace the radiator, you get a new cap, and then you just put it all back together the way that it came out. I will tell you that this one had never been removed, and well, if I can find yes, these little clips right here, there was two of these, one right there and then one on the underneath right here, and you need to take those off before you try to disconnect the fan shroud. I didn't disconnect any of the wiring or anything like that. I didn't have to. Also, when you go to take this fan shroud out, these transmission lines have two brackets on them, right there and right there, and they bolt into those right there. Well, you need to take them loose. If you don't take those loose, you're not going to be able to lift the fan shroud up to get it out of the radiator. When I get done putting the radiator back in, we'll tackle the elbow over here, and I'll show you what all needs to be done to do that. Okay, I got the new radiator put in. I went ahead and put the grill in, but brackets are put in. Now, when you put that condenser back together, you want to replace your O-rings. So we've got new O-rings in there, and I'm going to pull a vacuum on the AC system, get the moisture out of it, and make sure we don't have any leaks. Now I still got to replace that elbow, that 90-degree. I don't know if it's cracked or if it's just an O-ring. I believe it's probably just an O-ring, but you know, the possibility is cracked. They put plastic on engines that get hot. They get brittle. Plastic does anyway, and stuff seems to break. So we'll just find out here shortly. It's been sitting at that right there for the past 10 minutes. That needle hasn't moved, so I don't have any leaks. I vacuumed it out for 15 minutes, pulled the moisture out of the system. That's important if you open up your AC system, that you do vacuum it out. I just used a simple vacuum pump and hooked the charge line or the vacuum line from the gauges to the pump, and then your low side and high side, open both of those ports up on there and vacuum it down, close them out, or close the valves, and then shut your pump off after 15 minutes, and you shouldn't have a needle moving. It tells you you don't have any leaks. I've got to remove the alternator. Anytime you do any kind of electrical repairs, you should disconnect the battery. On this Lucerne, the battery is under the back seat, and it's very simple. If you just grab the seat in the front and pull up on it slightly, the seat will disengage and you'll gain access to the battery. Okay, so I'm removing this alternator bracket to replace the coolant lines that are leaking. Like these elbows right here, there's one there and there's one down here. This one down here is leaking, but since you have to take it apart, go ahead and replace both of them. But to remove the alternator, all you do is loosen up this bracket here. There's a 10 millimeter on this end and 15 millimeter nut on that right there, and this comes off, and then you loosen up your bolts. 1, 2, and then 3. Okay, and then all I was going to do was just move it out of the way. See? Now you've got a bolt here, and then there's one down under there, and then there's one up and under here. Once you remove those, see, it's loose now. And all you do is you just pry those lines loose from the block and replace them, and I'll show you in a minute what that looks like. Okay, so here you can see where I've pulled it out, and actually both tips were dry rotted. This was the one that was leaking the worst. Both of those were broken off. I had to use a pick to get down in side of there, and the other one, I don't know if you can see it right there, and draw those out with a pick. And I got every bit of it out, so now I'm going to clean those, remove these, and put everything back together. Okay, now that I've got these out, you can see they did not come out in one piece. No, dry rotted, they cracked and broke, and I had to use this to pry them out. Now I'm going to use a piece of emery cloth and I'm going to clean down in those holes. Now I'm stressed to you, this is aluminum. You don't want to over sand anything because you'll make them larger, and then that won't be good because they won't want to seal. But you can clean them out pretty good. I'm going to clean them out and I'll show you what they look like before I put them in. Alright, I've cleaned them out with the emery cloth, and I also did those ports. That one right there was kind of interesting to get to because this housing was in the way, but got it done. Now I put a little bit of grease on these O-rings to help them install easier, and I'm going to put these in and slide everything back together, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, that bracket's installed now. Got the new fittings that I needed to replace. Put the alternator back on, tighten all those brackets down, and now I'm ready to fill it up. I'm going to pressure test this system, make sure I don't have any more leaks, and she should be good to go. All I got to do from here is go hook that battery back up and put the seat back together. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, click like below. Would love any comments you have. Subscribe for future repair videos.